Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to tonight's St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Assembly guest speaker presentation. Tonight, it is with great honor and privilege that I would like to introduce to you the president of the local chapter of the National League of Women's Voters, covering the municipalities of Buffalo Grove, Wheeling, Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, Prospect Heights, and Elk Grove Village. She has attended California State University and received a Bachelor of Arts degree in English and Language Arts teacher education in grades 6 through 12. Having served in her presiding office with the League of Women's Voters for the last 5 years and 3 months counting, she is passionate about civil rights, social action, and promoting active citizenship, volunteering and serving her community as a leader in the Girl Scouts of the USA and a teacher. Without further ado, it is my great honor to present to you all Ms. Heidi Hoblich-Graham, President of the local League of Women's Voters.
Thank you so much, Juan. Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here tonight with you all. One thing, it was quite the introduction. I don't know, I didn't realize you knew so much about me. I'm also a military brat. So my dad was a career Air Force officer, served 3 tours of Vietnam. So that kind of gives you an idea of why I do what I do. I grew up with service above all else to my community. And I think a lot like you all. So what is the League of Women Voters? I'll try to keep this quick. So we are a 101-year-old organization, originally founded to right before women were given the right to vote, or we fought hard to get the right to vote in 1920. And the idea was to educate women that they could vote, in fact. And I should note that it was not all women, it was white women could vote in 1920. And but we're a political organization. We're trying to get people engaged in the political process, but we do not endorse political parties, nor do we endorse political candidates. We're very clear on that. Now, but if you're going to do what we do, we have to have a relationship with politicians, with everybody in the political realm. So you'll see me at the Republican dinner. You'll also, I grew up in a very conservative house. You'll see me in the Democratic parties events. You'll see me at the Green Party events. You'll see me kind of all over, just because I think the only way we're going to do the work that we do is if we can start bridging some of those divides. So it's something that I think the League of Women Voters is very good at doing, and it is something we're dedicated to doing. Now, we are open to all. So we are a membership-based organization, and because people see League of Women Voters, they think we're only open to women. Originally, that was the case, but at this point, it's just, we've never changed our name. It's like the NAACP. They've been around so long that changing that name becomes very difficult. So, but we are open to all gender identities, all ethnicities, all cultures. I mean, there is no one we close our doors to. In fact, we have members as young as 10 and as old as 100. So we really do span the gamut. Juan was excellent. He was able to rattle off all those communities that we serve. So your local league serves locally. So essentially my shorthand is all the communities served by High School District 214. So we do a lot in the schools to try to get more students involved in voting. We believe that if you wait until a person's 18, you've waited way too long. We have to engage them as early as we can. Sometimes we go to the library and we have mock elections for what's your favorite superhero or your favorite book. And we recognize that we're just trying to get people used to the idea of voting if we want to increase our voter turnout. The very first election where women could vote, only 40% of them voted. I'd love to say that that number has changed. But this last election, we had record voter turnout. But by and large, our voter turnout hovers around 55%. And here locally in Arlington Heights, I'm sad to say that in our last local election, so I'm a resident of Arlington Heights, but in our last local election in Arlington Heights, fewer than 10% showed up. So that to me is why we are so important. But our league is also a member of 2 interleague organizations. One covers the upper Mississippi River region. That's our watershed. So that's our fresh drinking water. And then the Lake Michigan region, which is our direct source of water. So, and what those leagues do is they work really hard to protect that water, to protect that environmental source of water. We also have a Cook County League. So they are watchdogs, as well as bridging between the community and governance. We have an Illinois League, and then we have our National League. So we here locally, our job is much more local. So people usually say after the national election back in fall, they were like, oh, you get a break now, don't you? And I'm like, oh, no. The local elections are far busier for us. In fact, we did 12 candidate forums over 12 days, and we are a 100% volunteer organization. Nobody gets paid. And so voter services is the bulk of what we do. So that's registering people to vote. These candidate forums, which we hold, they're much different than debates. And we're so used to seeing these divisive debates right now. We put on a very unbiased, very civil, people don't argue forum. We do a program called Stroll to the Polls. And this last year, this is new for us. It took us about 2 years to put this together, but we used 200 students across all 7 am I going over already? Across all 7 of the schools of District 214 to target 6,000 homes, approximately 12,000 possible voters. And we gave each one of those houses specific information about how they could vote, where they should vote, how they got information to vote, all in a nonpartisan way. And we published that in English, Spanish, and Polish. And we increased in those areas our voter turnout by about 1.5%. And while that may not seem like much, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So we are very happy with every little gain that we get. My motto is progress, not perfection. No, we're just looking for progress. Again, we do mock elections. We have a strong relationship with District 25, District 21, which is the largest school district we cover aside from School District 21. And in District 21 this last fall, we did mock elections in every single one of their schools virtually. I was very proud of that. So even though we're in a pandemic, we have not slowed down. We have probably done more because we pivoted very quickly as a league, which is hard to do when you're all volunteer. GOTV, just strictly get out the vote. I mean, we put up signs, we put flyers under windshield wipers in parking lots. I mean, we're constantly trying to think of how can we get more people involved in this political process. And then something I'm very proud of is our birthday envelopes. And every student in District 214 and St. Viator, on their 18th birthday, they are hand delivered an envelope that has a pen in it that says the vote is mightier than the pen, a vote sticker, information about voting, candy, because I have a teenage son and I know how to get his attention, and that's through candy. And that gets hand delivered to the classroom on their birthday as a celebration of them turning old enough to vote. So we're really proud of that. And we're finding that is got a great reach. So we are a political organization. So a lot of people always ask me, but wait a minute, you're not, you're supposed to be nonpartisan. How do you act on these issues that are partisan? Well, I would argue, so my father, like I said, who's a career Air Force officer, he has been awarded the Air Force Cross. He's actually featured in the Air Force Museum. So I grew up with a card-carrying NRA father. He's also card-carrying Sierra Club member. So my dad is also dedicated. So he's dedicated to the Second Amendment, but he's also dedicated to the environment. The environment really should not be a partisan issue, nor should healthcare. We all need healthcare. Nor should things like equal rights. Have they become partisan? Yes. But we approach these issues in what we believe is a nonpartisan way. We study issues. We come to consensus on those issues before we act on those issues. This year, our focus in 2021 and 2022, we vote on this as a league. Our members vote. We have decided that we want to focus our energies on diversity, equity, and inclusion, the environment, and mental health and healthcare. So those are some of the things, but we have other things that we can act on. And if we have members who have passion on it, we will work to give them resources to support that. We have an observer corps. It's just like what it sounds. Go to meetings, public meetings, park district meetings, school board meetings, village board meetings, and literally sit there, observe. We find that the politicians behave better and serve us better when they know that the league is watching and reporting to their members what is going on. We do legislative interviews. So we want to know what are our legislators thinking, and where, what's coming up politically that we need to know about. What are the issues that they're facing, so that we can be better partners and allies for them, and they can be better partners and allies for our community. Communication, we're not going to do any of this if we're not getting our message out. So we use every platform available to us, plus Zoom, plus a website. We have youth services. So we have one of the largest youth organizations we call emerging leaders in the country. Anyone under the age of 26 is what we consider an emerging leader. And if you watched any of the 12 candidate forums that we had in the last 2 weeks, you've noticed that we use young people as our moderators for two reasons. One, again, we want to get these young people involved. But two, I promise you, the adults in the room behave better when they have a kid asking the questions. But we're also finding that we're getting kids more and more interested in serving their community because we're giving them a chance and an opportunity. We have scout services. My son is an Eagle Scout. My daughter is a Gold Award winner. My husband is also an Eagle Scout. I'm the only slacker of the group. I'm the only one who doesn't have it in my family. But so because of that, I am dedicated, and all scouts, they have civic badges that we go in and we do the education for them. And then again, every group like ours has to fundraise. We only keep about $10 per member within our league. The rest of it is paid out to our parent organizations in per member payments. But you're not going to have 100% volunteer organization doing the kind of work that we do, which is sometimes tedious, it is sometimes difficult, it is sometimes frustrating, without some fun. So we have book clubs and podcast clubs and holiday parties and election watch parties and wine tastings and movie nights. And we've done all of these things even through the pandemic. In fact, last night, we actually had a cooking class. So, we're constantly trying to find new, different, and fun things for our members to meet them where they are. We do a lot to outreach for our community. We have civics clubs in schools. I'm really proud of that work personally. It's given kids a safe place to start having some difficult conversations. Anybody here's on Facebook, you know that the adults in the room are not behaving very well. And we want to teach young people that they can have conversations about some of these difficult things and still remain friends. And we had one of our civics clubs at South Middle School, they rewrote their own dress code, presented it to the principal and the leadership at the school, and that is now part of their school code. Many dress codes are biased against young women. We support the Newcomer Center in District 214. We give every single one of their students a gift at the holidays, and we provide other support as they ask us to. We've had kids, student groups at schools, Elk Grove Village, Wheeling High School, and Rolling Meadows High School ask us to help them put on candidate forms, and so we've done that. We offer educator support. The citizenship program in High School District 214, we go in and teach about the Constitution. We train for advocacy. Some of us, myself included, are natural born advocates. I'm a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate in the foster care system. So it's something that I not only do naturally, but I've worked really hard to train myself to be. As I said, I'm here with my parents. My dad has dementia and Parkinson's. And so you have to be an advocate I have to be an advocate for my parents. And so I recognize that especially if you're coming new to this country, that it can be very difficult to know how to advocate. So we try to train people on advocacy. And then we have partnerships. If you're familiar with the Viator House of Hospitality, they are really a wonderful organization that offers housing to young men who are asylum seekers so that they do not have to be detained in lockup facilities. So they don't only save the taxpayer about $500,000 a year, but they're making it so that these young asylum seekers have a way to be a member of our society in a productive way. And then there's the Trickster Cultural Center, if you're not familiar with that, in Schaumburg. It's a Native American cultural center. It's really a fantastic organization trying to help us remember that we are here on Native American land. And then finally, because you have to have a picture of my dog, look at that cute dog. That's Sloan. She's my rescued greyhound. She has a brother named Gus. They do have a custom vote code. Yes, they do, because I spoil them. But they have their own Instagram feed where they literally just vote for something every day. It's just my kind of sneaky way to remind people to vote. And we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a website. We have a LinkedIn. So lots of different ways, YouTube page. I mean, we're really trying to be, to meet people where they need to be. And then that's it. So hopefully you'll follow me, friend me. Again, I'll put in the chat our website as well as my email address. And I hope I haven't gone too far over. A few minutes over. I am verbose.
Thank you very much, Ms. Heidi Graham. Round of applause, everybody. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. And then you'll have, I think Rosemary Heileman will be talking about the Electoral College.
Yes, we look forward to next month's meeting with Rosemary on the Electoral College. At this moment, I'm happy to open the forum for anybody who has any questions or comments for Ms. Graham. I believe we have one from Mr. Dean Sordell. Go ahead, Dean.
Let me unmute first. No,
You're on.
Okay. Seeing seeing the election we just come through, Heidi,
Yeah.
And seeing the legislation that's being proposed in many states, are you as an organization kind of counteracting that and saying the election was okay? You know, what's your response to that, and what's your organization doing to talk about that?
Are you talking about the claims that the election was stolen?
I'm personally beyond that, but I think it's causing many legislatures across the country to come up with new voting rules.
Right, and I think that we see in some states that they, voting rights is something near and dear to our hearts here at League. We fought really hard for our rights. Women fought for our right to vote 100 years ago. And then in 1965, we were part of the Voting Rights Act, which gave all people the right to vote. So historically, it was white men, white landowning men, then white men, then Black men, then women, then, and we kept many Asian Americans from voting until sometime in the mid-40s. We kept Native Americans from voting until the 50s. And then it really wasn't until 1965 that really, with the Voting Rights Act, that we enfranchised everyone. So we know that this is a fight we've been having since the birth of our nation, and we'll probably continue to have it. So yes, but here in Illinois, I will say we're fairly lucky in terms of our access to voting. We have early voting. You can show up the day of the election and register to vote and then vote. If you are disabled, they have to bring the ballot to your car. You can have help. You can mail in your vote. I mean, there's lots of ways. Now, I would like to see, and this is not really a League issue, this is a Heidi Graham issue. I would like to see us move towards universal mail-in vote. But that's not the League's opinion, that's my opinion. I don't know that I answered your question. I might have danced around that like a politician a little bit.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Ms. Graham? Anybody? Well, Ms. Graham, with your permission, I'd like to comment. Thank you for your presentation again. And one thing I had the pleasure of experiencing myself this past presidential general election last year. I had the great honor and privilege of being an election judge. It was the first time I've ever was an election judge in my life, and it is a proud moment, that I will always treasure for the rest of my life. I have to tell you, I didn't know what to expect when I first walked into the fire, but as the day went on, I noticed that there were so many young voters, young participants that wanted to be part of the voting process, and that really brought a smile to my face and a song to my heart to know that there are so many people, especially today's youth and generation, that really care about our election system. I'm sure that there was a caveat that it was a historic presidential election and there was so much at stake, and there certainly was. But it never takes out of the fact for granted that it is very critical for we as American citizens to do our patriotic and civic duty, to register to vote in every election, and to encourage our family, our friends, our neighbors to go out and do their due process of voting as well. I just want to say, thank you for being an advocate to encourage, young people to get out and vote as you do for all the students in District 214 and at St. Viator. On their 18th birthday, you give them those personal envelopes and cards. I really thank you on behalf of my assembly. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you. And remember, I know that I just want to reiterate that we are open to male members, and some of our strongest members are men. We just haven't changed our name. That's why I generally just refer to our organization as League, so that I'm not constantly reminding people of the women, because sometimes I think that turns people off. But I would say my dad would be like, oh, an opportunity to be surrounded by women. So there you go. But that's an ex-fighter pilot for you.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, thank you so much for having me. And please, if you have any questions, check out our website, shoot me an email. I know that Rosemary is looking forward to coming and speaking with you. And at any time that if anybody wants to be involved, we've always got plenty to do. So thank you so much.
Final round of applause, everybody. Thank you so very much, Ms. Graham.
All right, we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye now.